On the nurseann.com podcast and audiobook reading today, we are in the published short story fiction, The Mental Files, which is a 6-book series, and we are in book 1, Sheep Among Wolves. We are going to jump into chapter 19, and then, as usual, break it apart as it relates to real life drama and your own inner thought struggles and family relationships, friendships, dynamics, just struggles you might be going through. Get some help, some tips, and also, of course, biblical prescriptions that help navigate this confusing life journey. And if you haven't been following along, you can go back to the first podcast for the chapters from the beginning and or get it on Amazon. It's by Nurse Ann, that's Ann with an E. And it is The Mental Files, and I put 6 of the books. You can get them separately, or you can also get it in one book, which is The Mental Files, First 6 Stories edition. So we'll jump into chapter 19, and then I'm excited for afterwards because we're going to talk about motivation for behavior changes for ourselves and our loved ones. We're going to talk about empathy, trauma-informed care, compassion, and encouragement, which is something everyone needs, including yourself. So let's jump into chapter 19 of The Mental Files, which is a published short story fiction drama. It's a drama about the frontline workers rescuing those in crisis, and those are crises of mental, physical, and spiritual. And I'm a nurse of almost 30 years and still going as a certified emergency and a mental health registered nurse. So I can see firsthand, as you probably already know, whatever your career or life endeavors, that people get into trouble. We all need encouragement and help. And thankfully, also, we have, best of all, our Heavenly Father, who is an ever-present help in time of need to guide us. So let's jump into chapter 19. As you've been following along, you know that they've helped rescue the young lady off the streets with the thought disorders, and also the man that was on the bridge contemplating the unthinkable. They're getting them some treatment and trying to help them find a better life. But of course, the forces of darkness and evil are trying to bring that all down, and the patients might be in danger, and the nurses and frontline workers are kind of losing their own hope and encouragement. So chapter 19 is short. It's called Pity Party. Feeling at her lowest and not sure who she could even talk to, Lita gave it a shot and called her nurse friend. Angela seemed to always have the right words that would encourage her. "And," she sobbed on the phone, "I just don't know what to do. I've never felt so low. I try so hard. I just want to help people, but I feel so alone. I don't know what to do. And Leon, I let myself fall for too much for him already. We kind of broke up for now, but I'm already confused and missing him." I'm sorry, Lita. I wish I had something uplifting to say, but I think you and I are in the same boat right now," answered the psych nurse, who was drowning in her own pitiful thoughts. "Sorry, Angela. I didn't know you were going through a rough time also." "Oh, wow. Hey, would it be okay if I come over to your place? We can try to talk each other through this mess." "That would be great. I think I'm just bringing myself down more and more," moaned the exasperated nurse. And that's chapter 19, Pity Party. So before we jump into chapter 20, we're getting ready to wrap the story up, the actions culminating, and chapter 20 is going to be a rat sneaks in. But let's just break apart Pity Party, because we all have situations in our life, sometimes every day, whether it's our emotions, anxiety, frustrations, worries for ourselves, worries for a loved one. We can all get down in those pitiful thoughts and the sense of hopelessness. So I hope that you hang on to that hope. I was listening to an encouraging message today by Joyce Meyer, a teaching series where she talks about holding on to hope, being a prisoner of hope, and that reminding us that even Dr. Charles Stanley reminded me today that hope is an anchor of our soul, and that hope is based on Jesus and his word. No matter what's going on in the world, what's going on in our life, we always have that anchor of hope to hold on to. And speaking of hope and encouragement, I read another good book that we'll get to in a minute that really broke down motivations and learning how to encouraging people with a purpose in mind of helping that person see more into their wanting to motivate to change, whether it's mental health struggles, addictions, life struggles, whatever. There is a way to get involved without breaking your so-called boundaries, a way to really help and be a positive encourager. But along those lines, I want to remind you also about trauma-informed care. If you haven't heard of that concept, it's great to look up. It just really focuses on what people have been through in their childhood, in their life, that affects their physical, mental, and spiritual health, and how it can cause setbacks in life. People feel like they're stuck, don't know how to get out, and just different specific ways to help people. And a lot of these themes come along with getting the right nutrition, rest, having someone that can help you through is having family and friends, therapy, mindfulness, and just taking that quiet time to pray and meditate. And there's so much more. And so I invite you to look up the concepts of trauma-informed care. And also, as I've told you on other videos, I've been studying a lot about Mother Teresa and her crew and how they really had the goal of their life of helping those, especially those who felt cast aside, unloved, and with just feeling so hopeless and at the end of their life and the end of their rope, and how just the caring and the philosophy of them, along with the philosophy of Jesus and others that care, where we can try to look out for those people who are feeling unloved instead of just going about our day-to-day routines and just stepping over them. We can be like that Good Samaritan and take the time to listen, give eye contact, pray with others, just see if you could be of any practical, spiritual, physical, and mental help. And that can be encouraging for so many people who, a lot of people are shunned by society and just walked over, whether they've done some things in their life to bring that on, whether it's from their trauma just causing them to feel so defeated. Help us to be those who can be involved, really care about others, starting with our family and those around us in our neighborhoods, our workplace, our schools, and just show that actual care and concern. And so we're talked about trauma-informed care and just really seriously caring about others. And that brings me to the latest book, which I'll leave on the book reviews on the nurseand.com tab soon, but it is called Beyond Addiction, and it's about how the science and kindness can help people, not just with substance abuse addictions, but compulsions, just different things in our lives that we want to see change for ourselves and change for our loved ones who seem caught in that trap and going down negative cycles, sometimes very dangerous. But they emphasize, and this was written by the people that started the Centers for Motivation and Change in New York City, and it's revolutionary, it's evidence-based, it's science-based, and they really get into the CRAFT method, C-R-A-F-T method, which is, I believe, community reinforcement and family training, which helps involve others in the lives of those caught up, I said, in compulsions, addictions, just anything where we've tried everything and we just feel so hopeless, fearful, anxious, and afraid. And I'm telling you, this book will really, really help your mindset with these revolutionary new evidence-based practices that have a very high proven success rate. Do yourself a favor and get that. But they really talk about that CRAFT method. I learned about that also on a YouTube channel, Put the Shovel Down. If you haven't seen that, she has some very helpful videos on that mindset. But it really teaches us the different methods that help people and how sometimes the methods of just utter confrontation or just the negative aspect and the anger towards the people just really puts up the walls and the defenses and actually can lead people further away from making changes. And they really explain and give you worksheets and just practical examples of how to turn your communication, no matter how upset you might be, into actual positive communication, and you have goals for it. And that you always also give positive reinforcement to behaviors that you want to continue, and that a way to avoid giving those reinforcements when the person is caught up in the negative behaviors without treating them badly. You can pull back. They teach you a good technique of ignoring those behaviors and allowing natural consequences, which some people would relate to enabling, which is in that same category, but they teach you it kind of in a different way, a different style, where you're keeping that communication and that motivation factor up for your loved one and for yourself. They talked a lot about self-care and how even when we're caught up in those family crises, we might think that's not important or we have to devote all our energy to that crisis, but how your self-care is not only going to help you go on through this trial, help your life, it's going to also help you be a good example to not only to yourself, but to the others that you want to see change when they see you living in a healthier, more energetic, more positive mindset. There's so much more in the book. It talks about the brain functions and the reasons for addiction and relapse and compulsive behaviors, and how we just get caught up in getting demotivated and thinking negatively and whatnot. So I invite you to look at that. That's called Beyond Addiction, the science of, I don't have it right in front of me, but it was about the science of change and also kindness. And you can find that. And also trauma-informed care, and just different resources of Mother Teresa and others have really helped me see focusing our perspective, because as we roll about in this world, we can be tempted to just be drawn away by just thinking about ourselves all the time, or thinking that we have to be selfish or aggressive to get what we want. But just reminding even the life of Jesus seems counter cultural to the world's ways, because he did bring a new way of helping us to focus on what's important, focus on the moment, focusing on helping others, focusing on the kingdom of God and what is important. So that was chapter 19 from the NurseAnn.com podcast and audiobook, and that's from my published short story fiction, The Mental Files. There are 6 separate books. The first book is Sheep Among Wolves, which deals with inner thought struggles and thought disorders, thought strongholds, homelessness, people fending for themselves, the frontline workers and how they help, and also their own relationship and thought struggles. And then we will jump in later to book 2, which is Dr. John Doe, which talks about memory disorders and memory problems and follows the characters. And book 3 is The Mental Files, A Tent Under the Bridge. It looks more about homelessness and thought disorders and seeing how the frontline workers, the church, and the community are trying to help. And it goes on to book 4, which is The Mental Files Defenders of the Week, looks into bullying and online bullying, into anxiety and just different life struggles. And then book 5 is The Mental Files Ready, Willing, and Able. It looks at disabilities, autism, and just different ability struggles, and how that people have their own talents that they can be the actual heroes, leading you into the season finale, which is The Mental Files Out of Control. We talk about substance abuse, addiction, denial, entitled patients, just the culmination and temptation of the workers and their relationships, and just the culmination. And it's a very exciting finish. You will enjoy that series. You can go to my website, NurseAnn.com. There's a link for that. And also 2 devotionals I wrote. One is Energize Health, Body, Mind, and Spirit. And the other is Word Puzzles Devotionals, which is interesting words linked to everyday thought struggles and linked with biblical prescriptions to help us overcome and thrive. So I will see you on the next NurseAnn.com podcast and audiobook reading. I hope you do stay encouraged and take care of yourself and look out for the needs of others and be an encourager so you don't fall into your own unending pity parties. Have a great day.